Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I have here my friend Craig. He's the founder of Copper River Funding. He's been successfully leading the company for the past 17 years. Craig actually specializes in providing high-yield, asset-backed commercial real estate investment opportunities to investors nationwide. So he's seen market cycles come and go and has built a very solid business around helping investors grow their wealth while managing their risk. So Craig, without further ado, my friend, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you on. Why don't you just introduce yourself to the audience, share some of your background and just ultimately how you got here.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to share the Copper River story with your listeners. Copper River Funding is a private commercial bridge lending company. We provide bridge loans to commercial investors or commercial borrowers that are in need, that might not be in a bankable situation right now, but our bridge can get them to where they need to be in a bankable situation. Our company was started in 2008 in the middle of the credit crisis, and so we were kind of born out of the fire. And a lot of our guidelines and our risk mitigation strategies were born by seeing what happened to a lot of other bridge lenders back in 2008 and 2009. A lot of your commercial bridge lenders back then used large warehouse lines of credit. And when the credit crisis happened, one of the first things that banks did was they turned off those lines of credit. And so almost overnight, a lot of your commercial bridge lenders, which are an absolute necessity in commercial lending, commercial bridge lending is an absolute necessity. But we saw a lot of those companies overnight become glorified property managers for their investors. And so learning from those mistakes, we created what we feel is a win-win win for borrowers, for our investors, and for the project as a whole to get completed. And so while people might not be, I guess, very familiar with what commercial bridge lending is, I'll give you a couple of examples. For instance, we just funded a development project, a horizontal development project in Alvin, Texas. This is a project where the developer was a new developer, but she had been a development engineer for the last 25 years. So she has engineered developments all throughout Texas, but this is the first project that she took on her own and decided to develop a project with 92 home lots. She has a national home builder as the buyer. So that it's already under contract to be purchased once it was finished, but they needed the infrastructure to be in place. So that means electric, roads, power, or not power, but water, drainage ditches, things of that nature. And so we stepped in with a $4.8 million bridge. It's under contract for 7.8 to a national publicly traded home builder. So we have an entry, we have an exit, because banks are right now. It's eerily similar to 2008 when banks started tightening. We're seeing the same thing, and we're seeing a lot of it in horizontal development. So basically, we stepped in with our investor base. Our investors will earn a 13% annualized rate of return on their investment here, and the project will get completed. And our borrowers stand to make a little over $2 million on this project. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Wow. Yeah, that definitely sounds like a win-win for everybody, right? The way you position that, I mean, it's a no-brainer, it sounds like, right?
It
You
sort of
know,
is.
right, sure, absolutely. So, I mean, you've been obviously in the industry, Craig, for nearly 2 decades. I mean, I know you mentioned 2008. You've seen multiple different markets, cycles shift. I'm curious. I mean, how have you adapted your investment strategies to stay ahead? Could you dive in a little bit deeper on that?
Like I said, we were born kind of out of fire during the credit crisis, so we saw all the pitfalls that a lot of other commercial bridge lenders fell under, and we decided that was not going to be our fate. And so we set
Mm,
our guidelines in how we loan, the amount we loan, the loan to value, which is critically important, um, at a certain place, and we've held tight to those guidelines ever since. We
mm,
typically have a 65% loan to value guideline. So that means if a borrower needs to borrow $1 million, the max that we're going to provide them is 650,000, and it all
mm,
has to be vetted. We do a lot of due diligence work, and that's something that's really, really important. Back in 2008, when we started, I came from the residential world to start with, and quite honestly, had we known then what we didn't know, we
mm,
probably would have never started. But over the last 17 years, um, not only did we build a solid foundation from the mistakes that we witnessed in 2008, but we've continued to hone those risk mitigation strategies over the years. And you're right, we've been through the things that a lot of companies have never been through. I mean, how many companies have been through a pandemic? And so
yeah.
as a private commercial bridge lender, and you've got loans out to companies that have strip malls.
Mm,
Okay, they own a mall. Maybe it's a 50 or 70,000 square foot strip mall
mm,
with 10 tenants, and all of a sudden those tenants aren't even allowed to open their stores. What do you do?
mm,
How as a borrower are you going to continue to make those payments when your investment has completely dried up because they were mandated not to open?
mm,
And honestly, we attacked that pretty quickly, quicker than most. Before they shut the country down for a 2 week, get it under control, whatever it was. We had already started emailing our borrowers saying this looks like it could get interesting, and we're going to offer you a 90-day reprieval, and just put that 90 days on the back end of your loan.
mm,
What banks were doing at the time is they would do a quick forbearance, and they'd say, okay, we'll give you the next 3 months where you don't have to pay your mortgage, but then or your interest payments. But then the fourth month came and they wanted all 4 months. Well, that didn't do anybody any good.
Mm.
So we were quite literally ahead of the game, and because we were willing to work with our borrowers pretty rapidly and in a way that made sense to everyone, uh, we were able to move through that process pretty seamlessly.
Mhm.
There was a, it's kind of like the old story of the duck. I mean, on top, it looked like we were, smooth, but we were paddling like heck underneath the water,
Mhm.
but we survived, and it taught us some things. It also taught us about certain places we should and shouldn't lend as well, because we saw what happened when the government took control over what looked like private property rights. There were certain
Mhm.
states that if you had a borrower that was in default, you weren't even allowed to send them a default notice to let them know they owed you money, or you'd be fined as a company. That's
Wow.
terrifying. So
Uh-huh.
there are places that that we steer clear of now, I would
No,
say. But
100%.
you know,
I think there's
in 2008, when we first started, a
mhm.
lot of our investors were investors that had IRAs that had been decimated, that they'd seen a 50% drop in their IRAs, and we felt proud to be able to offer an asset-backed opportunity for these investors to start rebuilding what had been destroyed by the equity markets.
Mm.
So we felt like it was a win-win-win for everybody.
If you're looking for consistent, high quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
No, 100%. There's a lot of value to unpack there. It's one thing, right, when you have somebody, such as yourself that again have been through different market cycles, have learned some lessons from that and obviously now know, where to take that going forward, right, for the right direction to obviously, mitigate risk for people and obviously, set them up for the best possible position, right? So,
Exactly.
I mean, since we're obviously talking about this, I mean we're in a time of rate rising interest rate. There's all this economic uncertainty going on right now, a lot of noise, right? You and I were just talking
Mhm.
offline before we hit record, but how do you see this impacting the commercial market, and just investing in general? Would you say in the next 5, 10, 15 years plus out?
Well, let's just look at the next two.
Hmm.
There are some things, as you know, 5 years ago, we probably hit the pinnacle of the real estate market, 4 to 5 years ago. Um, and right before the pandemic, and maybe right at the beginning of the pandemic, there was so much volume and so many buyers out there and things like that. But interest rates were where? They
Hmm.
were 3.75, three and a
Right.
half. Okay, commercial rates 4 and a quarter. Whereas now I think an SBA 507 loan is 10 and a half, 10 and three quarters.
Uh-huh.
Okay. The thing about commercial real estate that people don't realize is that typically, while you might have a 20 or 25 year amortized loan, it's typically only fixed for the first 5 years. So a lot of commercial investors that buy commercial real estate typically go in and refinance every 5 years you know, to get that fixed rate again for the next 5 years. The problem is either they go in and refinance, or the rate adjusts to actual market rates. Well, the issue is a lot of these commercial buyers that you see, a lot of these companies that sponsor um, um, the purchase of, crowdfund the purchase of big multifamilies. Yes, they cash flow, but they cash flowed at 4 and a quarter. Will they cash flow at 10 and a half?
Mm.
Likely not. And so I think we have what, between now and the middle of 2026, 1.5 trillion in commercial loans that are set
Wow.
to either adjust or look to refinance. And a lot of banks out there are saying no to a refinance right now.
Mm.
It's quite amazing, and I think a lot of that has to do with the uncertainty in the markets and the fact that these banks have capital reserve requirements. And the only way that they can meet those capital reserve requirements a lot of times is just saying no to the next loan. The nice thing about Copper River Funding is, and private commercial bridge lenders like ourselves, is that we don't take away a bank's depositors. So um, it's a lot easier for a bank to refer a client to us rather than say an absolute no to their client, because they know we can probably get the project done, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to lose a depositor either.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. So I'm curious, Craig, too, I know we were talking earlier, but, about your due diligence process, and I'm curious
Mhm.
to, to see, how do you handle that? Could you walk us through what your due diligence process is when you are analyzing a deal? And maybe you could talk about just some red flags that you look out for as well that, you look at and you would say, okay, this probably isn't the best fit. Could you walk us through that?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
When we have a project that's referred to us, um, what we like to do in the very beginning is review any documentation that's been sent in, and a lot of times it's minimal. So we know where the property is, what the amount of that they're asking for is, and what the approximate value of the property is.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all things that need to be verified. We have to verify the borrower's credentials. And I know there are lenders out there that say we don't look at the borrower, we don't look at their credit, we don't look at their ability to repay. They'll just provide capital as long as there's enough equity in the deal. That's not us. When we look at a project up front, we typically limit our loans to 24 months, and there's a reason for that. Um, as you know, a lot of things can happen in 24 months. So our job is to limit the amount of exposure our investors have to changing economic conditions,
Mm-hmm.
to either the real estate market or the borrower's financials. People get fired. People lose their job. A lot of things can happen. So we start there. And so when we're looking at entering into a project, we're really underwriting that project for a conventional exit. It's either a sale exit or it's a refinance through a conventional bank. One of my partners, we have offices in Idaho, in Houston, and then we have a partner that splits his time between Atlanta and Jacksonville, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and our partner in Houston used to manage a large commercial portfolio for a number of banks in Houston, and is a skilled underwriter, very very detailed underwriter. And Tim gets in there and underwrites our entry into the project based on their ability to exit our project within 2 years. If we don't see a reasonable way that they can conventionally exit our loan, then we walk away.
Mm-hmm.
The job
Wow.
for us is to mitigate the risk not only to the borrower, and because we don't want a borrower to be stuck with a higher yield loan for any longer than they need to be,
Yeah.
right? And we
Right.
don't want our investors to be in a bunch of defaulted situations. We've been around for 17 years. We've done I'm going to say, over $1 billion in private commercial loans in that time period, and
Wow.
we have less than a 1% foreclosure rate, which I think I would put up against any bank in the country.
Wow. No, that speaks for itself right there. That's
So
that's yeah, that's the testament to, having a great team that it sounds like you've built for yourself, and also just being, very transparent as well. And that's something I do want to, pivot off of, since we're talking about that. How do you educate realistic expectations, right, with people, right? Maybe about the returns, the risks, the timelines, because as there are people like slow money, people like long money, long-term money.
yeah,
But I mean, how do you approach that when you're working with someone?
um, I would say investor expectation management is key to if you're doing something like this. If you're, I guess the best way I could describe it is if I have bad news, you're going to know it before I'll get to good news. So there is I'm a true Gen Xer. I don't really have a filter. In our
I like it.
industry, I don't think there's time to have a filter. I think
Hmm.
it's time to just be transparent and tell the truth. And sometimes the truth is a little harsh
Yep.
to start with, but we always seem to find solutions, and that's one of the things I think I'm really really proud of. Is that over the years between myself and my two business partners,
Hmm.
um, we have a problem solving capability uh, that I've rarely seen in our industry. We've come
Hmm.
up with some very creative solutions to help everybody involved, and that doesn't mean that we haven't had some bumps and bruises along the way, but the only way that you get to those solutions is if you're critically transparent to everybody involved in the project.
No, I 100%. I think transparency is a big thing that the industry lacks a lot. Is just being transparent on exactly, where are things at in this current moment, right? Because
Absolutely.
it's so much better in the long term if you're just upfront about that, and it's going to save you in a lot of trouble in the long run. Because I mean, as you know, Craig, I mean, 17 years, I mean, that's all relationship built, right?
It
It's
is absolutely, and I would say that besides doing podcasts
Mhm.
and every once in a while we'll do investor presentations, but the majority of our investors, I think we've got about a 98% retention rate with our investors, and that's over 17 years. So that
Wow.
that should tell you something. I mean, we've had investors pass away, and they were our initial contact, and their
Oh,
wives now have stayed on with us.
wow.
They've contacted us and let us know, hey, so and so has passed away, and
Mm.
but he really enjoyed you guys, and so then I take the time with those investors to educate them on what their significant other was involved with us and how they got involved, and teach them what a good project looks like, what it may not look like. We do a lot of right in the very beginning when we take on a new investor. I like to spend time with them so that they understand exactly what it is that we're doing. And a lot of them find it very easy to understand because they have a mortgage on their home or a mortgage on an office building or something like that. And basically, all we're doing is we're teaching average Americans how to become the bank
Mm.
and be on the other side and receive interest. So we have a number of investors that were big time landlords. They had lots of properties, but they got tired of the toilets and the trash and the taxes and stuff like that. And they see with us similar yields, only they don't have to get a call at 4 a.m. saying that my washer has sprung a leak. So
Right.
um, we enjoy that process. We enjoy developing those relationships, and because of that, the majority of our investor base now is referral.
I love that. Referral's the best, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
really is,
Yeah.
um, and it's humbling actually because
Mhm.
that means that you've done something right,
Yep.
and the expectation is that you're going to keep doing it right, um, and and it's important to do that. It's important to perform for those people.
100%. I think anyone listening even to this as well, that's looking to, obviously, mirror the success that you've been able to build as well. I think that should be your starting ground, right? Focus on building relationships, networking, keeping people in your back pocket. Don't look as far as, what you can get as far as a transaction out of this person. Just focus on becoming their
Exactly.
friend for life, and then ultimately you'll set yourself up for success long term, right? So,
Well, and that
Craig,
that goes
yep.
back that goes back to the community that we built. Did you have a question? I'm sorry.
No, Craig, go ahead. Mhm.
Okay. That goes back to the community that we've built because we deal with high net worth investors, a lot of high net worth accredited investors. We also deal with family wealth offices that in excess of 100 million. But we also deal with people that are in the accumulation phase. So those high net worth investors are looking to protect and continue to grow their assets.
Mhm.
And so they may not be into equities as much as they were. They want an asset to back their investment, so that if everything goes wrong, it's not a zero sum game. It doesn't go to zero. We have a piece of real estate we can liquidate to typically make you whole or better. And we also have those, like I say, that are in the accumulation phase that don't know much about equities, but they know about owning a home, and they understand that that if being the bank wasn't profitable, we wouldn't have a lot of banks. And
Mm.
so they understand being put in that position. And like I said, back in 2008, we were really, really proud to put together a program where we could help people who had their IRAs and their retirement portfolios decimated, help them rebuild, albeit 11, 12, 13% annually at a time. But that adds up. It's
Compounds
in
over
the,
time. Mhm.
it's exactly correct. So
No, Craig, that's awesome. I love everything you're about. And man, I honestly wish we could go for another hour because there's so much more I want to ask you and diving into. But hopefully we can get you on the show here again in the future to dive back
love
in
to
on that.
be,
But
love
yeah,
to.
in the meantime, what is the best way for people, to find you? Where do they need to reach out to? Where do they need to go?
You can, well, first of all, my email is Craig, Craig, at copperriverfunding.com. That's COPPERRIVER funding.com. You can go to our website, www.copperriverfunding.com. But you can also reach out to me. And this is, we have a lot of personal touch with our investors. So my investors have my cell phone number. A lot of times when very rarely are you ever going to reach the CEO of an investment company. Here, that's a completely different ball game. My
Uh,
number is area code 208-520-6544. You can feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to reach out to Craig. Craig, couldn't appreciate your time enough, my friend. Again, I
Thank you.
love everything you're about. Thank you so much for time for, sharing the value that you brought on the show and to our audience today. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I just wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors, my friend.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you having us.
No, of course. Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Guys, hope you enjoyed today's show. I know I did. Hope you got a ton of value out of it, but I already know you did. As always, my friends, we will see you on the next episode. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.